will be from Australia. So good morning. We're here in the US, in California. So, you have us ahead of you. But so my name is Marcus Zern. I run business development at Workato, and I am very pleased to be here with you today. And not sure you've actually seen this here. So we're all together here as partners of Xero. And I'm not sure if you recognize the gentleman there on the left, James Riley. He is the developer evangelist in Melbourne, Australia of Xero. And we don't have the time here today to watch this little video, but if you want to go and see that, well, we can share the content with you. So he actually created a little video on Workato because we know Workato, and he really felt this was useful to the Xero community, and actually specifically to all of you. In the business to kind of create more than Xero itself by kind of connecting Xero with other applications together into solutions, combining Xero and so on. And the way he put it to me, he said, like, look, Marcus, we have certain applications have pre-built integrations with Xero, and that's great. But whenever you're bringing more than two applications together, whenever it's not just point to point, I think you guys really have a compelling story. He says, sometimes the integrations that are pre-built are not, they don't do exactly what customers want, and you can complement them with Workato. That's another thing. And then often enough, people might want it just a tiny little bit different, right? They want the integration just to function in a different way, just to suit their business processes. And again, Workato comes into the picture there. So really, what we're going to talk together here about is Workato. Workato is a cloud integration platform that works with Xero, and it works with actually 150 other applications, cloud applications out there, and that's actually not all. If you find a cloud application that Workato doesn't work with today, you can actually bring it in. We have a new mechanism, our connector kit, that you will see in the demo later on, and it'll basically allow you to add in new applications into the portfolio. And I think all of you as cloud integrators are really suited to do that, right? So one scenario that we're very proud of, and that I actually showed in Australia, that is first week of December, we had an event in Sydney, and so we're a proud partner of the Apple Enterprise Mobility Program. And this was one of the scenarios that I showed there. I think it meets very much what Riley explained, but it's kind of, if you think about all the green lines here are Workato integrations. We call them recipes, actually, and we'll share with you why later on. I mean, Riley's little video, he actually made a little fun of the recipes, saying like, hey, I'll cook with those recipes. But it's really a nice scenario. It's a customer in Australia, and you kind of see a little bit in the fading background there. It's about swimming pools. It's a company that sells you swimming pool related products in their stores, and actually also has people going to customers out in the field, cleaning their pools, repairing their pools, maintaining their pools. And here's what we've done for them. So we took Xero, of course, for accounting, but there's more than that, because there's Vend as the point of sale in the retail location, and there's ServiceMate that I'm sure you guys know in Australia, which is the field service applications. This is the people who go out to the pools to clean and repair, have with them. And we brought them together. It's actually a great scenario that highlights what Riley said. Hey, so well, you have Vend and Xero together. You know, there's something built. You have ServiceMate and Xero together. Well, there's something built as a pre-built integration. But now you have a business where actually Vend and ServiceMate have to work together because you got field service and you have a retail location, and you actually do need Workato to make this work because the integrations are slightly different. But we didn't stop there. We actually added extra stuff on. So because that company doesn't want to just, you know, make their operation, want to find new clients and market and so on. So Mailchimp is in the picture, or you can pick your favorite marketing automation and emailing program. Could be a loyalty program also, but in this case we brought in Mailchimp to run email campaigns. And then one of the things that we kind of found out working with the business. So one specific requirement was like when people go out and they have to do a repair, maybe they don't have that specific part on the truck, maybe it's missing, and they go to a local hardware store if it's more a standard part, and they buy it and then they expense it and Expensify. And we actually integrated Expensify back into the ServiceMate work order program, and you can tie the expense to a work order. It's a nice operational benefit. And then last but not least, what we actually did with Xero, we created a little automation where we actually check on invoices and we kind of tie them to their due date, so the net terms that they have, and we basically created an automatic follow-up that checks on you without you having to worry about it, having to check back in your application. It just automates the collection process, if you want, the follow-up and on overdue invoices. I think it's a great scenario. I think it delivers really well on what Apple wants to achieve, which is kind of taking the best apps. Many of them run on on iPads, but making them even better together with this solution. And as you might imagine, this is just one of many scenarios. You can imagine e-commerce scenarios could also be coupled with a point of sale in retail. The CRM angle, I started to go there a little bit with Mailchimp, but there's many employee management apps. We'll talk later on about a great example with Slack. It could be a scenario where more project management comes into the picture, and at the center of it all, Xero as the accounting app, and then Workato tying it together. Right, so with this set, and don't worry, there will be we'll get to a demo of Workato very shortly, but I wanted to with actually a peer of you. So you're all Xero Cloud integrators, and we've been working with Jordan Zhu. It's a company called Biz in a Box, and he's been had a long in accounting, working with taxes and again, Xero Cloud integrator here, working with him and had really good conversations around really what makes a cloud integrator, what's different way of integrating, and I also wanted Jordan to really talk about what he has in mind in Workato for his business. So Jordan, you're on. Love to hear you talk about your experiences with Workato so far.
Thank you, Marcus. I was going to say I want to let the music get too well known, because I have a few people that work for me that would love to have it. Just as a background to this, what I think is important to start with is let's focus on what integration isn't. Integration isn't going to the app exchange or the marketplace and ping an app, pushing a button, and telling your client you're done. You might be lucky and some things work, but then again, some things might not work. And where I always come back to is the difference between, they talk about the fact that how you can't get people that have networking backgrounds to write code, and at the same time, you can't teach coders business rules. I think there's some truth to that. A lot of this is sort of melded together. And I guess the way that I started out is what Workato lets me do when I look at my clients is I always start from the question of, I'm not going to make my client change his business process or her business process to fit a software application. I'm going to make the applications fit their what their workflow is and how they run their business, because that's why they have me, to enhance their business and essentially provide what we call technological leverage to improve their business process, which means that we start out as CPAs. There's really nobody better to understand what a business process is, how the workflow take place from the minute you find a customer to starting a sales process, marketing process, to closing a sale, to actually going ahead and servicing that client. What Workato does, it essentially gives me a tremendous level of flexibility and freedom to be able to say, I'm going to try to pick the best of breed applications for each stage in my client's workflow to give them the tools that they need to work they want to on whatever device they want to from wherever they want to. And the way that works is where, you think about pre-built connectors where you put Bill.com together with Xero. You know that something's going to sync on receivables and payables. But how about if you need to get something to a calendar, or you want to have a copy of something go into a custom file? What Workato lets me do, and what they've described as a recipe, which I think is a great way of doing it, is you take the ingredients, which are the applications, and you figure out how you put them together to create something new. In other words, I know I need to load an application and log into another, and the question is, what is it in that? What is the object or process that I need to do something with? And then I look for what I just call a trigger, or what event happens which causes me to do something. For example, I receive an email that has an attachment. I want that attachment to go to the Dropbox for the company. So now I know I'm dealing with whatever my mail client is. I'm dealing with Dropbox, and I know that I need to get an item off of that email and moved over to someplace else. Workato essentially, through its recipes, provides a framework where if you can essentially define what you want to take from where and where you want it to go, you can design a trigger, or you can essentially design a connector that will move an item from point A to point B. And what's really important about that is this gets to be, if this action just happens, it's fine. But then there are cases where you start to get into a judgmental element. In other words, there have decision points where if something has someone's name in it, it goes one place. If it has another ID in it, it may go someplace else. So that's something to start to build decision branching in. So essentially what we're doing is, if you think about flow charting out what a business process looks like, individual apps may be the boxes. Workato essentially helps you design and build the connectors that put the piece together. And if you start to extend this logically, you can get to a point where you have steps that have what we refer to as a HIT, or human intervention task. In other words, where you come to something and a person needs to do something a computer can't. At a certain level, Workato has the ability to queue up a number of items where it can be waiting for the human being to make it move something along. That's absolutely critical to be able to make certain things happen. We're getting a little complicated, so I just want to come again. It's taking. I'm starting with data in application 1. I need to get it to application 2. I need to figure out what allows me to move it, where I want to send it, and essentially Workato provides you with the tools to make that transition happen. And having worked with a half a dozen different products over the years, they've got something candidly, there's a little bit of a learning curve, and that once you start with this, a little while to get used to how to do it. But once you spend a little bit of time and work through it, you end up finding yourself thinking about more things to do with it that the client may not have even asked for. So it's really a canvas that once you start connecting what you need, it gives you the ability to sort of start to think outside the box and do something with those applications that serves what the client's interests are, rather than just what's printed on the specifications for the application. I think I'm going to stop at that point.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Jordan. So what I definitely, what I want to do is I want you to be able to ask questions to Jordan. But my sense is that actually we might be able to, we should do the demo maybe first. So Jordan, I'm not sure if you have the time to
I'm
stick
not going
around.
anywhere. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, what if you can stick around, then what I will do is we'll go through the demo. I'll ask Amlan to show the product, and maybe, once that's done, we can do a little Q&A among all of us. That might be the best best approach here. So, and I think you can see my slides still. Yes. So the Workato platform is very, very quick, just to tie into what Amlan will show. Because I described it as a cloud integration platform, but you heard a little bit from Jordan already. This could be more. I mean, you heard terms like a flow chart, a flow charting, and a workflow, and so on. There's actually, so you can integrate all these applications. You can do syncing of data, but there's actually more. You can do multi-branch business logic. You can actually bring in human approval steps. And when I talk to you about that, you can follow up on invoices, review invoices. What I explained to you, this isn't a syncing in the moment. This is actually where Workato keeps state of something quite a while, before 30 days for a net payment term, for example. All of this is possible. There's some work automation in there. And then last but not least, this is and people really are taking this up very nicely, is you might have heard of Slack, different chat. But what if you could actually launch one of these flowcharts, one of these processes from within your chat window? What if you could talk to your applications? What if you could ask your application, Xero, for example, a question? Hey, Xero, can you answer me this back on this one customer? And it'll come magically back into my chat window. So that's what we call user empowerment. This is talk machine to machine, but people are actually in the picture. And this is another thing we can do. So what I would like to do, and I'll probably have to change presenters here, is to ask Amlan Debnat. He's our VP. He's done integration for a long time. He's done it at a company called TIBCO, TIBCO. You can look them up in Wikipedia. Started integration back in the day. Amlan also ran the Salesforce.com platform for Malta's senior vice president, and we're very glad to have him with us, and now him walk you through some of these aspects of the product. Let me see, Amlan, can you?
Okay, so
yes, hi, Marcus.
Amlan, the presenter right now, so he can share his screen. So
yeah, perfect.
Okay. Amlan, do you see the controls?
Yes, do.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you. We just can't see your computer screen yet.
Okay, yeah, I think we see the screen. Does everybody see his?
Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Let me stop and start again.
Okay, so I can see your screen, Amlan. Maybe
here,
Marcus.
yeah, I can see it now too.
Okay, perfect.
I think we're good.
Okay.
All right. So let's go and look under the covers here. I have a few scenarios that I'll take you through, each quite simple by itself, and hopefully it'll give you a flavor of what Workato can do. So the first scenario is a very simple: when an account is created or updated in Salesforce, create or update an account in Xero. So very simple use case. You want to do the account sync between the two. So I think Jordan talked about this, that there's a trigger, and Marcus, and specify what you're looking for. And you can also filter out information that you don't want. So if you did not want customers, or you didn't want any type of customer, then you can just filter it out. You can select how far you want to go back. So you can either select from yesterday, today, or you can actually select and go back. So once you get the trigger, that is basically pulling out information from Salesforce. So whenever some new account is created or updated in Salesforce, it's going to hit this recipe. And then you're saying, what should it do? So the first thing it's checking to see if the type contains customer, then do something, right? So this is an if condition that you can use inside the recipe. And Marcus talked about branching. So you can see these are all branches. So if something happens, do this. Here's another branch. If it is if it is contact is present, then do something. If the contact is not present, then do something. And inside each of this is the description of what it contact, name, and when you're doing update contact in Xero. So depending on if you found it or not, you can do an update contact if it is present. And when you're doing the update contact, you can map information from all your previous trigger information that you have received. So for example, if I wanted to map contact name, I could just map it from here. I could say account name I want to put there. I can add things here. So for example, let's just say that I wanted to do let's say that account name was multiple characters, multiple words, and I can do a split. And I can say, just pick the first one. So stuff like that you can do. There are many functions that we support in the function mode or formula mode. There are numeric functions. There are string functions like this. Numeric functions to do add, divide. All the mathematical functions that you can think of. We have date functions that you can use. Add date, get the last day of the month, get the first day of the month. All kinds of those. You can also do conditionals. You can say, if the account name is present, so you can do something like this. Presence, and then you can say if it is there, do something. Then use the account name. Otherwise, use something else. I can just break it up here. If it's there, use something, and otherwise, use the account number, for example. So all kinds of things you can do here, and and if you don't find it, then you can do create. So if you start coding like this, you can do, you can avoid creating duplicates inside your product. So if it all exists in Xero, we'll not create a duplicate in Xero. And then this thing you see here is something that we had done for Apple, for the iPhone application that we have. Whenever something happens, you can keep people notified about what's going on. So you can send an event to that application and say, you need to work about. Because the idea of the track is, you're running your enterprise from the phone, and anything of sense, you get to know about it over there, and you can react on it. So that's a simple one.
Amlan, can you maybe go down on the new action where you're adding the new action to people show? Because Amlan showed the conditional. I don't think we had a repeat action in, but just to make sure, like one thing, for example, it's important with Xero and in invoices and line items, you can actually do a loop through a list of invoice line items. You can do with a nested loop. You can go through a spreadsheet, for example, a timesheet of your employees and so on. So you can actually do very granular processing of information. But I think the power is, and you've seen a little bit, right? So you have this kind of looks a little bit like the control flow, the recipe. Kind of looks a little bit like, you know, a macro in Excel, maybe, like a little bit like a very simple Visual Basic.
Yeah. Marcus,
and then if
can I jump in for 1 second?
Yeah, please.
Because I think there's an important point here. So we're talking about being able to take data off a spreadsheet. How about if we designed a Google form to collect information that our employee filled out at you know, a number of clients along the way, and then we come back to the end, and now the spreadsheet report, now the Google form reports out to a spreadsheet, so I've essentially can automate my entire billing process.
Yep. And I've actually, you know, I have at the very end, I have one customer example where actually, you know, a Google sheet junction with Xero to kind of, you know, basically manage certain business-related processes that are not, that shouldn't be. It's a combination. It's tied together with Workato. So very powerful. You can use that for Google Sheets as well. If you can use one of those tools, I mean, the formulas, in Excel or in a Google Sheet, right? The formula is there. And then you know a little bit to do macros or some Visual Basic programming, very basic. And now you can, with that skill set, not being a coder, not being a developer, you can tie your cloud applications together into these powerful solutions. Yeah, it's quite a powerful concept.
Yeah, just to add one more thought, if you take the Google form, imagine having a form that your customer can go to when you're not there and have them do self-service quoting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, you know, the when you do in Google Sheets and many of the other things, even CSV, for example, people, you know, bring in CSVs and load off the CSV, not a simple load, but, you know, a load which is dependent on the logic that you specify. So you know, there are customers who are doing a CSV which comes in and they check, similar to what you're seeing here. They'll do they do multiple things. They do, you know, first they see if this thing exists. If it exists, fetch another, you know, other data from another place, and, you know, augment the information and then store it into the file destination. Yeah, the limits, you know, the what you can do is actually quite unlimited. In addition to, so there are the 4 actions Marcus was talking about. You know, so there's the basic action, which is a create or a send or whatever. There's a conditional action, which is the if. Special case of the if conditional stop. If something is true, then for this job. And then the repeat action, which can go through. Let me show you, you know, what a repeat action looks like. So when I do a search, you know, in some cases, let's see if it doesn't have any here. But if there was a some, let me get one thing here. So if you have a repeating loop of something, let's I think the new another search which is there, which so now you're seeing how to build a recipe also. Search accounts. I think the new search account gives a list back. So if I do that, and then I do a loop, so here it returns a list of accounts. So I can say I want to loop through this one, and then I can process, depending on what I want to do, I can do a search in Salesforce. Let's say I want to do a Salesforce lookup. And I can choose the account code from this, you know, so now you see this for each has come in. So which will be for each record that is in the search returned by the get some value. You can put the name in, and, you know, down below you can see the size and the index for this thing. And so now you can do, you know, you can just add more stuff down below and, you know, do more processing. So that's the power of, you know, chaining this thing. You can have a simple recipe which is 4 lines long. You can have a complex recipe which is 70 lines long. So the limit basically is up to what you want to do. Let's go on to the next kind of next scenario. This is slightly different. The other thing I wanted to point out is, you see that it can handle multiple applications. Here it's Xero, clock, Xero again, email, etc. And we also have this feature called test recipe. So when this recipe has never been run, so it's prompting you to test it. You can always start the recipe or you can test it. When you test it, it'll just pick up one event, process it, so you can look how the output looks. Is it behaving the way it should be behaving? Once you're happy with it, you can just go ahead and start it. Also, when you run it, you can see the job history. Here there are no jobs, so you'll not see any history. You can description for the recipe, so you can write, you can make detailed, you can show a detailed description of what's going on. I also use this as a place where I keep track of what changes I made to a recipe. So it is also a kind of a live log of what's going on. Similarly, similar to the history there, I can also comment every line. What am I doing here? So again, it makes it much more readable when you're looking at it. 5 months later, it says, why did I do that? So in this recipe, what you're looking at is an updated invoice came, and then I wait for the due date to come. I'll wait for that length of time because I don't want to do anything up to that point. And once it is on due date, once it reaches due date, I will go and get the invoice ID in Xero and so on. And at that point in time, I'm going to send an email out, reminder email out. You can see that form of the email is over here. I can bring in fields from any of the fields that are available to me before this point, and I can send the email out. Now you notice here that it is doing if after all of these things, it is trying to do a search. I could have done this right up front, and by changing the logic, I could have just said, if this one doesn't have an email address, I'll just not do it. Or you can say, maybe in the future there will be an email address present, and I'll do the check before I send the reminder. So all kinds of variations are possible. Here, seeing another thing, which is a complex if condition. So if condition can be just one single condition, or it be something else and something else, or something else, and so on. So pretty powerful conditional steps that you can do. And like you're seeing here, the if can be under another if, and again, anywhere in there, I can also add a loop if I had to. So this is, this is a very simple recipe, yet it is very powerful, because what you're doing is you're waiting for something to happen. So something happened, and after event to happen, which is until it hits due date, I will take action. So this is, very powerful. Is in the traditional sense, in integration, we used to call this long-running. This is an example of a long-running job where, a job starts and it's just hibernates till something happens. Another example job is what was referring to. I want to get approval, manual approval from someone. So, there are this concept of a approval task. So I can send a approval task to Marcus saying, should I send this guy an email, approval email, and it could wait for his approval to come in. And once it comes in with a approved, then I will send this email. So that's another long-running job. So the jobs don't have to just run and go away. They can stay there waiting for other events to happen, which is actually a very powerful concept when you're doing this, real life, when you do life scenarios. Any comments, Marcus, Jordan, before I move forward?
No, I think this is great. Well, let's, I'm looking at the clock here. Amlan, I don't know what else you have.
Let me just skip to
yeah, that'll be good.
So there are two concepts here. One is that this thing that I'm showing you is the what we call an app. They're pre-configured applications that we can deliver to you, and you can just turn them off and get going. So this is a application for Slack, so I can turn on some of the applications that are available here. Similarly, we have applications for Salesforce Xero, or QuickBooks Xero, QuickBooks and Salesforce and Infusionsoft and Xero and so on. So prepackaged set of applications, recipes, and the end user is just going to do on and off kind of take only that kind of an action. So inside of, before I go there, let me just show you what it looks like from here. So once the Slack runs, I'm hoping that some of you are familiar with Slack. So Slack is basically a chatting tool. It's like boards that we used to have a long time back, but in a much nicer format and much more powerful than what a simple bulletin board used to. So when I come to Slack, now here I'm talking to Workbot. I'm in the Workbot channel, and I can say help. And it's going to say, these are all the applications available, and I can say, okay, help on Xero is what I want to look at. And it can say, okay, so on Xero, you can do a show contact name, or you can do a Xero copy contact. And I can say, okay, show contact, and it'll go to Xero, and it'll fetch the information from Xero. So now doing a command that I asked it to do. It went into Xero, and it fetched all of this information and is showing it to me. And also now it knows that there are other linked activities that can happen. So he's saying, do you want to show this account from Salesforce? And I can say yes, one, or I can say copy the account from Xero to Salesforce, right? So if I said yes, one, say, it'll say that I don't find it, and it's saying now it is asking me, do you want to copy this account from Xero to Salesforce? So you can link these things together to kind of prompt you to react to things. So here I said, my first starting point was show me something. Another option could be that this Workbot can or Slackbot can also could set up a notice, say, an opportunity of $5,000 has come in, and someone needs to look at it. So up as a here, and it'll come up with similar options that I'm showing here, and you can say that, oh, okay, this option, let me see if I'm doing business with this guy in Salesforce, right? So so things like that, you can change commands to make how you think and prompt you to do the right things. So this is the output of what is there. And if you look under the covers, basically there are these RESTs who are. So this one is the show contact details in Xero, and then the one we just did. If I refresh it, you'll see that 441 job which came in, and I can look into the job. I was telling you that once you run a recipe that, and here history, and I can say, show me what command came in, which came in, application tag, shows how you're instructing this to do something, right? And then one, I can say, search contact, the name, bank up, and here's the information that came back. I'm posting the command. We're posting the Apple tracks, post to the Slackbot, which is and here I'm saying, this is the input I got, and here's the output I sent out. So that's a very simple overview, a very high-level overview of Workato, what Workato can do. Being sensitive to time, there's 15 minutes left. We can open it up and take questions.
I mean, if I could just give one example, this just gave me, as a managing, a pretty evil idea. Our people are supposed to time report into a system in the morning. I think that automating the process to see who turns their time reports in and reminds people, lets me know if they're not in time, is going to be something that's going to be appreciated across the office.
Mm-hmm. You could do that.
There's a company in timesheet business called T-Sheets that exactly the same idea. Just to
in other words, what this bot
you can log in and off from within Slack.
in other words, what this bot is doing is it has the ability to essentially give you a way to automate the enforcement of business rules or conditions that concern you and alert you when you have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. And again, you know what I showed, the power is that, you know, these commands, you can create them yourself. You know, each command is a recipe, and you can create a new command, and you can create your new enforcement of policies. And
so if you look at this one, for example, you know, this is a much more, you know, copy from Xero to Salesforce. So the command came to Xero, and then looks for the contact in Xero, and then searches for it in Salesforce. If it is not present, create the object in Salesforce. If present, just say that, you know, it's all there. So you can decide what this logic is going to be. You know, you can create, and even the commands you can create. So, you know, all of this thing here, let me just stop it. You cannot edit it while it's running. So all of these I'm saying, you know, I can say, instead of copy, I can say, you know, zap it, or like, you know, clone it. You know, my command could be clone. And instead of saying account, I could say something else. I could say, you know, contact, you know. So I have complete flexibility over how I call, what I call the command, what hints I give, what parameters it takes, and then what logic it takes. You know, all of this is all, you know, customizable. You can build your own. You can customize the ones you did that you have. You know, before this demo, actually, I made a copy of the create contact and made it a copy contact from Xero. So it's very easy to do. Once you get the hang of it, you can do it in, like, you know, 5-10 minutes.
Let's. I know we're 45 minutes in here. Thank you so much, Amlan, and also Jordan. The line. Any questions? So we got Jordan here. We got Amlan here. Anything on your mind that you want to ask these two experts?
Yeah, so people on the floor, if you have questions, you can just raise your hands and I'll unmute you.
While we are waiting, I just had another thing that I wanted to talk about. Is that, you know, there is developer mode in Workato where you can, suppose you have a application that we don't support, and if you are a developer, you can create. So, for example, the product hunt is an application that we didn't have an application for, and, you know, someone in the company wanted to connect to it. So once you look at that, it's very easy to create a connection to an existing application. It's this custom application or custom connector is looking at product hunt, and it looks at these triggers. Coding something like this is very simple. All you have to know is what the REST API looks like and what the authentication looks like. So here, you know, you're looking at the trigger definition. So there are some object definitions we did. You know, object is a user, and a post, you know, these are the important objects. A vote is an important object, a comment, important object there. And then you have the actions. So I have a get user action, and here's what it does. And the execution is basically you can look at REST, plug this in, and this is the output that'll come out. Similarly for all the other things. And you know, if you wanted to listen to it, you have to put triggers. So you can put the trigger, and you're listening for new post. And this is, you know, here it is doing a poll every every 5 minutes or so, and it's do logic here and triggers here also. So it's very easy to, I think the two triggers we had created. So one is here, new post, and there was another trigger, vote for post. So you can just very easily create a application. And then once you're done with it, you can just connect to it, and, you know, you can test it very easily.
So this one is once again powerful, because you're not limited to only the connectors that you see on Workato, but there might be another app that there isn't a connector for yet. You can yourself. This isn't for everyone. So I think most of you might not use this, might not want to use this. You don't want level of expertise, but it is absolutely possible. And once someone in your company created that, someone who's a little more technical, then everyone else can use it without ever having to know about how this was done. It's abstracted, and then you have it in your connector set.
Just out of curiosity, is there a GitHub repository for this stuff? For the triggers, so that someone in the community builds a trigger, how would they contribute it to get it into the collection?
So right now, yeah. So question. We have not opened it. Like the recipes are all private and public, right? So it's available to the applications or the connectors that you build are not shareable yet. They're all private, but we are going to, yes, exactly like you're talking about. We are going to make it available to other people so they can, if someone shares it, then other people can pick it up.
So in other words, not only can you guys do it, but to the extent that we as partners build something, we've got an opportunity to essentially contribute a new application, triggers the connectors for a new application to the community. So
exactly. That process,
essentially, it gives us a chance to build this out for each other's use if we see something interesting.
That's correct. And the process-wise, this would mean it goes through a certification process at Workato, where everything is just deemed okay, and then you can, if you want, you can contribute it to the
essentially, it's publishing to one of the app exchanges.
That's correct. Yep.
So that's a whole nother level of power to this. You know somebody in the a Xero partner that's working with one particular application, ask them if they've got something. There may be a way to get what you need. That really leverages the partner program.
That's correct. Now, Zen, how's it looking? Do we have any questions?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you can raise your hand at any point in. But other than that, what I would say, if you give me the presentation right to Zach.
Okay, let me give it to you right now. Yeah, you should see it now.
Okay, good. All right, and hopefully you guys can see my screen back. You can see the photo again. Absolutely. I wanted to honestly just finish up with a few examples. You've seen the demo. Hopefully this was useful and gave you an impression of what you can do with Workato. Wanted to show a few examples, what real editors have done with real companies. There's a non-profit company that actually is back-ended by Xero, but has Salesforce in there and makes money through donations, but also through an e-commerce system, and everything is tied Workato. There's another company that has a system called Replicon, which is really a time tracking. I think of it like, in Australia, you probably know Deputy, a system like that. Replicon is a little more project oriented, but that tied together with Xero through Workato. And these are good integration examples. And then there's there on the right hand side is the Bliss Animal Hospital. That was one. I think where Jordan was going with Google Sheets. So they actually have Google Sheets running. There's certain operational tracking that's going on a Google Sheet, and summary information of that through a Workato recipe is synced back with Xero. They actually also have Twilio, which does SMS notifications tied in so that certain exception cases trigger SMS message from as well as from that Google Sheet. example. And then on the left-hand side is actually here the customer who used the overdue invoice that we showed you and Amlan also showed you. So this is a good accounting automation example. You know, one thing we're very proud of, and you know, if you are in the accounting world, you've heard of the Sleater Group or Xero. Every year, Xero actually is exhibitor at Sleater Con, which is the big conference, and Doug Sleater, you know, his name is on the conference. He's a big fan and kind of really feels that this is gonna push accounting as a profession forward with I believe exactly the things that Jordan was talking about. And I think that the business in a box is a really good way. That's how Doug Sleater thinks of solutions that are digital plumbing. You know, how do I tie multiple applications together to a bigger solution where the end result is better than the sum of parts. And believe, and I think Jordan really deeply believes that this is what being a cloud integrator is really about. So Dr. And the audience, actually, all the members of the Sleater Group gave us the awesome application award for that very reason. I know we're almost out of time here. You're asking what's next, right? So the one thing encourage you, if you what you have seen, you can go to on our workato.com page. There is actually to become a Workato consulting partner. That's what Jordan has done. There's actually, if you know, at the very bottom of our page, or actually also on the top and about, you can get to the partners page, or you can use this URL, which share those slides with every single one of them, and you can actually sign up to be a Workato consulting partner. What that gives you is it gives you actually a way to test and develop with Workato on your own, and do that with a special consulting partner account that we'll provide to you. It'll also give you abilities to resell and refer a business and get, you know, rewards for that. Of course, we will like what you've seen to do that. So we gather and feel free at any time to reach out to me, Marcus. It's at workato.com if you have any questions, and you know, start working together. So with this said, I wanted to thank Jordan for participating, Amlan for demo, and let me see, any last question that we might have here on the call today.
Okay, Marcus, we have something from the floor. So I think somebody's asking, like, do we get any like extras as consultants, like maybe extra support, or like in terms of monetary terms, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go through this process with the signups, we will actually get you an agreement with all the terms. But just to summarize, I think the biggest commitment, if you want to become a Workato seller and you want to, you know, work with your customers and actually support Workato deployments as a first support, we are willing to share the revenues that you're getting in reselling Workato with you, and this is yours to keep. On a referral basis, if you say like, hey, I want to just do the project, I don't want to do ongoing support, we were able to share the first year revenue of your clients. So there's substantial you know, benefits being a consulting partner, and yeah, absolutely. We have a community of Workato consulting partners. We have ongoing, almost think of it like a standing sessions where you can come with your questions. You will have access to, you know, and his team for specific questions, because you as consulting partners are very, very important. You're doing exactly what Jordan explained. I mean, you're taking that powerful platform, but you making it relevant for specific.
Let me add something else. From a customer relationship standpoint, once you start doing this, I'm going to use a gruesome example. You almost become like fungus, because it's so deeply ingrained in your client's operations that you start to become part of the process. And changing somebody who does your tax return is very different than changing whoever is involved in your business, essentially transforming your business process, keeping it current. Even if you didn't from this per se, the reward that you get from deepening the relationship with your customer, you can't think of a better way to do it.
Okay, and then we have one last question. Do we have international support? So I'm guessing, like, because these guys are from Australia, so, and we are based in the US. So Marcus.
Yep, absolutely. So you'd be happy to hear that we actually, so we have, of course, support here in the US, but more importantly, we have a support center in Singapore. Substantial part of our customer success team is in Singapore, and it's in a time zone that's very aligned with Australia. And we have many customers already. Happy, successful Australia is worldwide our second largest market, and we're dedicated to, again, we have people in the right time zone, and thankfully the language is not too problem. It's all English.
Not German, huh?
Yeah, so we're able to provide support to you at the right Australian hour.
Awesome. Thanks, Marcus. So sorry guys, we are a little bit out of time. If you have any questions, I think you can just email Marcus directly. His email is there, marcus@workato.com. Other than that, if you want to reach out to Jordan, how can people reach out to you?
You could actually, I don't know how to show you my email, but I'm a Xero partner. I'm listed in the Xero partner directory with my email. Feel free to reach out. we're more than pleased to work with other Xero partners.
Yeah, I think it would be great if, like, you guys can share some, like, industry knowledge, some Xero.
We're that, as a cloud integrator, we are committed to supporting the channel, and if somebody else needs something, we're happy to work with you.
Absolutely. All right, guys.
If anyone to get in touch with Jordan, just do it through me, and I'll be happy to make the mutual introduction.
All right. So
all right. Thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. This was a great session. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye.